Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the trading setup and the market strategies for the day. Well, the Nifty 50 is heading into the final trading session of this week, having broken below its key levels in a 5-day of a losing streak already, and also having given up more than half of the 1,000-point rally we had witnessed on the Nifty from the lows of August 29. IT stocks have also wiped out nearly 2 lakh crore rupees of market cap over the last 5 sessions. They will again be in focus today after Accenture's results. Now, the other important part will be as to how to look at the markets with respect to what's happening on the Trump tariff front. Once again, Donald Trump has delivered sweeping tariff shock, building in America or pay. That's what he is focusing on now, especially with regards to the pharma sector that's finally seen some action on the tariff front too. The pharma sector will be in spotlight after 100% tariff announcement on both branded and patented products by US President Donald Trump starting October 1st. These tariffs, Donald Trump says, will be imposed unless a company is building its pharma manufacturing plant in America. Also, in a separate Truth Social post, Donald Trump has said that imports of heavy trucks will be imposed by a 25% levy. He's also said, meanwhile, kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities and associated products will also face a 50% tariff, while 30% tariff will be charged for upholstered furniture as well. So a whole host of sectors will be in focus on the back of the impact that we see on the back of announcement on tariff fronts and fresh tariffs for fresh sectors being announced as well. Remember, the US markets, we've seen they have declined for the third consecutive session on Thursday as investors have reacted to an unexpected decrease in the jobless claims after a significant upward revision to GDP growth, and these developments have further added to complexity to the outlook on the interest rate cuts front in the US, contributing to uncertainty surrounding the Federal Reserve's policy direction after having cut a 25 basis points in the last policy. Overnight, what we've seen is that Nasdaq has fallen by about 0.5%, S&P 500 dragged by 0.5%, and Dow Jones fell by about 0.38% in trade. What's happened this morning in Asia Pacific markets? They've opened largely in the red. This is after President Trump's fresh tariff announcements have actually come in. We've checked South Korea's Kospi. That's edged lower that by about almost 1.9%, now 2% lower in trade. Hang Seng Shanghai also down in trade, with Hang Seng losing about 0.6%. We've also looked at Nikkei, for instance, from the Japanese market. That's also down by about 0.3% in trade. The gift Nifty is also indicating, a revision on the downward side. But at this point in time, there's some improvement from the sharp lows that we actually saw as well. So, but we'll have to see. The initial tick was even 100 points lower, even below 24,800 odd mark. So we'll see how it really trades in, action in today's session as well. Now, what's happening on the FIIs and the DIIs front as well? Foreign investors have net sold again 4,995 odd crore rupees of equities in India. As of yesterday, DIIs have bought 5,105 crore rupees worth of shares as well. But let's welcome our guest on board to understand all of these various moving parts in the markets and how they impact the direction of the markets. Mr. Abhishek Basu Malik, the co-founder and fund manager at Sri Rama Managers, is now joining in on this platform. Warm welcome to you, Abhishek ji. Good to have you with us. Well, once again, it's going to be tariff limelight that we are going to be focusing on. This time, as Donald Trump had been constantly indicating that pharma will see never seen before kind of tariffs. He's talked about a 100% tariff on branded and on patented products. Now, of course, we are given to understand that this may only impact companies which have, exposure to large branded and patented products in the US, which they are not producing in the US. But those that are in generics so far have not been impacted. So a large part of pharma, at least from this information, might not be impacted to a great extent. But what happens from here on will again be a question mark. But finally, the pharma space. How are you looking at it, sir?
I think we did discuss about pharma a couple of weeks back, and
Yeah.
uh, what I mentioned then, I continue to have the same view, which is that it's going to be very difficult for the US administration to put tariffs on generics because
Yes.
uh, that is going to hurt their the cost of medication there, and that is going to not go down well with the people. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Second, I think if you look at the price of patented medicines in the US, it's actually atrocious. I mean, if you look at the same drugs sold in other developed markets like in the EU, US patients need to pay sometimes multiple times the price, right? So in a way, I think this is short-term negative for the even the large patent pharma companies. But over time, I think there has to be some kind of rationalization of prices across the world, even for patented drugs. Especially, I mean, there could be two kinds of prices: one for the developed market, one for emerging markets, and like that. So right now, I think two parts to it. One is don't see too much of an impact on the Indian pharma, except maybe a Sun or maybe to an extent Wakhat. Wakhat simply because they are in the patented pharma. At least that is the promise that they have. Sun is a fairly big
Yes.
player in the US patented market.
Absolutely, Abhishek ji.
Absolutely.
You've clearly pointed out that, of course, till the time it hits generic majors, it's still okay. But generics, it's going to be very tough for even the US markets to impact. Let me just show you and tell you what is exactly happening here. You're seeing some graphics on your screens, viewers. Remember, in 2024 2025, we had, as a pharma industry, $10.5 billion worth of exports to the US. Out of this, the branded formulations contributed $1 billion of exports, whereas 9.5 billions were largely contributed by the generics division. So you can clearly understand that this 100% tariff is to the tune of that $1 billion of exports that we have. So all of those companies that are contributing to this $1 billion will be directly impacted. Largely, as Abhishek ji pointed out, it is Sun Pharma that is being seen as the biggest player that might see an impact on the front as well. But we'll have to see what happens to a Dr. Reddy's and other companies that still have an exposure. You can clearly see Sun Pharma indicating a 10% downward opening in the implied open. The markets also on the Nifty have slipped below 24,800 as was being expected by the implied open. 24,783, 105 points lower. We'll see how it pans out in trade. Remember, the exports to pharma exports to the US on a year-on-year basis has also jumped by 20% in FY25. US remains the largest single market for pharma exporters of India. It also accounts for 35% of overall India's exports to the world as well. So that's a large chunk too. Shipments that are dominated by generics are not going to be impacted. So a 90% generics market still not touched, and 10% branded and patented market is something that is going to be impacted, is what we are given to understand. Abhishek ji, if we look at a sharp knee-jerk reaction as is being seen in the pre-open trade on Sun Pharma, what should one do if they have this stock in their portfolio?
That's a very tough call. I mean, if you have a long-term horizon,
Yeah.
you might want to hold on. But short-term is actually very murky because you don't know what is going to happen. You don't even know the fine print of this US tariff, because even last week we saw what happens if you sort of jump the gun in terms of what during H1B, right? Ultimately, the way it sort of panned out was the impact was actually very minimal, right? Because it's a one time only for new applicants. So we don't know the details of these tariffs, whether it's, if you just have one factory, or if you just start building one factory in the US, are all your exports to US become zero tariff? If that is the case, then pretty much everybody will start off with a small factory, initiation, and then get the tariff down to zero. and then pretty much see how it plays out.
Those who may want to know a broader idea of how the companies are drawing their revenues from US in terms of the pharma companies, I'm going to be highlighting top 5 companies that have maximum revenue that they get from the US market, be it in generics or in branded names. So Sun Pharma has a 35% US revenue into its overall basket of revenues. Dr. Reddy's revenue contribution from the US is 40 to 45%. Cipla gets a 30% of its overall revenue from US. Lupin gets 40% of its revenue from the US. Oro Pharma gets about 50% of its revenue from the US. Natco Pharma gets 70% from its overall revenue from the US as well, and that's what we are given to understand from our preliminary research that we are given to understand. Of course, this will then break down to how much of this is generics and what portion is branded and patented as of now. There are some other uncertainties as well, Abhishek ji, because what Donald Trump's statement has said and indicated is that those who are building in US, they will not have to pay. Now, whether this is referring to any additional capacities, or is it starting off a new manufacturing facility? It's again a question there, because there may be some facilities of our Indian companies in the US already. If they start to expand that and say that yes, we are now producing in America, but whether that will come into focus or not is again a question. Secondly, we'll again have to see what comes in next. Is this just the first order that has come into branded and patented, and will this follow up to generics? That's when the maximum pain be felt.
Yeah, so exactly, what I said, that until and unless we know the actual details, it's very difficult to, comment, because it just, on the screen, you're highlighting the tweet.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be very difficult to figure out whether it is. So if I have a factory, right, up and running, as long as we are manufacturing in the US, does it mean that all my products get a tariff-free entry, right?
Absolutely.
So very difficult to say that. So that clarity will emerge hopefully in the next 24 hours, and we need to wait for that.
We need to wait for more clarity. But Sun Pharma, as is being seen as the stock that is getting the impact the most, remember it has key specialty products. These are not generics products. Illumia, Sequoia, Odomozo and Winlevi. At least these of these specialty products that they have in the US are likely to get impacted with this 100% tariff, and the entire business comprises of 19% of its overall sales. So we are going to be understanding how this gets impacted. Remember, in FY25, Sun Pharma's specialty sales had increased from 17% last year to $1.2 billion, while global Illumia sales now have also grown by 17% to $681 million. So these are some of the drugs or the specialty products that are going to see an impact. We have seen some improvement on Sun Pharma impact from the first downward tick of 10% to now 2.5% lower tick. So that's some sense returning to the street at this point in the pre-open trade. 24,818, 72 points lower as far as the Nifty is concerned. Again, we are looking at both IT and pharma that could be dragging in the sentiments today. About 1.5% lower for the pharma index, and IT index lower by about 0.5%. But only metals and realty that could be seeing some uptick. Metals shown bright even yesterday in overall weaker setup of the markets. Real estate that had dragged might see some short covering in trade today as well. Among the stocks that could be in focus, again you have metal counters like JSW Steel that could be in focus, construction majors like L&T, Titan could be in focus, Bajaj Finserv and some life insurance names, and PSU banks could also be in focus. We'll come back to it in a bit. And of course, PSU stocks, again, those defense and railways names, we'll try to find out how that happens. But we'll also have to keep an eye out on, apart from the pharma space, on the IT pack as well. And here I wanted to take, Abhishek ji, your view again. especially with regards to the Accenture numbers that we have got. It has beat the fourth quarter revenue estimates and unveiled a 6-month, $865 million restructuring to realign its workforce and operations for the rising demand of digital and AI. And how should we extrapolate that news for the Indian players at large, and what could be in the offing for the upcoming earnings starting first or second week of October now? How would you look at the IT stocks that have also given up? I was reading that out before you joined in. 2 lakh crore rupees of a market cap in the last 5 days of a sell-off. How are you looking at that, sir?
So just one comment on Sun Pharma and the patented
Okay,
drug
okay,
manufacturers before I get into it. See,
sure.
one of the reasons, and I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. One of the reasons why patented drugs, have been allowed to price at a significant premium is because there is no competition, right? Somebody has done some research, they've got a patent, and then they have exclusivity. Now, if you just stop reacting in a knee-jerk way and think that what if Sun Pharma says we don't do anything, right? We'll just pass on the tariffs to the customer,
Yeah.
right? Uh, it's not that for those drugs, not only for Sun but for the global players also. Not as if that there is any alternate which is easily available. So ultimately, if these big pharma just decide that they will not blink, ultimately what is going to happen is that the US consumer is going to pay 50% or 100% more than what they were paying earlier. So that is something that we have to see how that plays out, because it is not that easy for, I mean, big pharma has been doing this for many years, right? So they also have lobbies, they also have their way of getting through this system. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Coming back to your question on IT and on Accenture numbers, I think Accenture sort of delivered where what pretty much they had guided. They had guided for about top end of the guidance was about 5% constant currency, and the revenues they delivered was roughly around 4.5%. What I found was, I mean, which was most interesting from an Indian IT services perspective, was that the management actually highlighted that uh, the increased traction on AI and AI services is not becoming deflationary. It is not impacting revenues, because what is happening is that the cost savings that the clients are getting is getting reinvested into more technology initiatives. So that I think is something that slowly people will realize that that is going to start playing out. So at some point, maybe this quarter, maybe next quarter, I think we will start seeing a lot more sanity return to the IT pack.
Okay, got that. Now we'll just shift our focus to the markets, and it's just about a minute to go before we start to see the markets tick, and we'll have to keep an eye out on the Nifty IT, the Nifty Pharma indices for the first, and both the indices for now are indicating of a lower start. Pharma is something that is going to be reacting first to this tariff news that has come in. The index is right now looking at a 1.5% lower start at 21,623. So we'll have to look at that. And of course, we'll look at some of the stocks there. Yes, we have the first tick going now, 24,845, 51 points lower. Not too bad for the markets as a start, as a reaction to this tariff news that has come in on the Nifty at least. There's a 0.14% of a decline. So it's not very bad as was being anticipated earlier into the markets. Let's look at the IT and the pharma indices. The pharma index is the one that has lost over 2% right in the open, and we are seeing even the IT index down by about 0.5%. But let's clearly pull up the pharma names. Sun Pharma is the top loser in trade today at 1554. It is down by about 4.6% in trade. Cipla follows with 1.5% of a loss. Dr. Reddy's is also among the top losers, 1% lower for this one. Among the other stocks that are lower from the apart from the pharma space, you can see Titan that's lower. ICICI Bank, Infosys and Power Grid as among those top losers. Media, metal stocks and infra only sectors that are holding up, but pharma, consumer durables and IT now the top three laggards on the Nifty as of now. When we look at the PSU stocks, you do have some momentum going again on defense names like HAL and BEL. Remember, HAL had signed this big deal with government yesterday to supply 97 Tejas fighter jets, and therefore you are seeing some improvement. Brokerage houses are also penciling in higher targets, even upwards of 6,000 kind of targets are now coming in for HAL, and that's continuing to be in focus. Half a percent uptick for BEL is what you see. And among the top movers, you also see some metal names like JSW Steel. L&T now is the top mover today. Hero Moto and Hindalco and HDFC Life are the other movers. Some more breath of wave on the positive side on the auto pack after having lost quite a bit of ground yesterday is being seen. But let's also look at the Nifty 500 names. Anything to mark here at this point in time? Rights, I think, on that order flow that has come in, 4% higher on this one, but not too many names that we can mark out right at the open in trade. But let's come back to the discussion with Abhishek ji. Abhishek ji, 2.5% kind of a fall on the index level, 4.5% fall on Sun Pharma. The other stocks also reeling under some pressure, but like we had marked out, the assessment is still to be done as to what kind of an impact is coming on individual companies. What should one do overall with the pharma stocks at this point? Should one look at this or just stay put and wait for clarity at this point?
I would think so because you know the, the first knee-jerk reaction could possibly be the wrong one, right? So we don't need to react because primarily most of Indian pharma is generics, like you also you
Yeah.
showed the graphics, right? So nearly 90% of Indian exports is generic. So instead of reacting all that much, let's give it some time. And in any case, the biggest impact company has not, it's not down 10% or something like that. So uh, 3.5% for Sun Pharma down. It could happen in a bad market day anyway. So let's probably wait and see how the what the details are, and then from the initial reading of the tweet, I would say there are a lot of ways to circumvent these I mean, the kind of tariff that is being talked about. So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, fair point. Let me just also welcome our other guest on board. We have Mr. Kunal V. Parar now joining in, Vice President of Technical Research at Choice Equity, to share with us the technical view on the markets. Well, fifth day of losses is what we've already seen. We are sitting on the sixth day. Last trading session of this week, this has rather turned out to be, week which has stalled the momentum on the upside that we saw from the previous 2 weeks. Kunal, how would you really look at the market sentiment at around 24,826?
Well, good morning. And but obviously, we are seeing negative impact from the US side. The way the US levied the tariff. Right now, Nifty is trading 24,816 below its 100 days moving average. And if it's close to this 100 days moving average, then further downside would be there up to the level of 24,500 to 24,300. So overall momentum, overall sentiment is on negative side only, and further downside would be there, based on the ongoing momentum. So
Kunal, we
will be
lost your audio in
sustainable.
middle. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So present level, we may see some downside momentum in the Nifty itself up to the level of 24,500 to 24,300.
Okay. Any suggestion on the pharma names? What do you do with this sharp dip that we are seeing across the board? All the pharma stocks, meanwhile, viewers are in the red. None of them is in the green in trade today. So Natco Pharma is down 3.5%, Gland Pharma is down 3.3%, Sun Pharma is down 3.2%, Biocon is down by 3%, Ipca Labs near 3% loss, Divi's Labs, Ajanta, Laurus across the board. You're seeing at least 1 to 2% of a loss there as well.
Well, from my side, it's like wait and watch because we have been witnessing some bloodbath in the pharma sectors, and for the downside would be there based on the ongoing sentiment. So let's wait and watch for the time being. Let's settle down this negativity. Let's settle down this volatility, and then we'll decide where to put our money, where to park our investment money. So as of now, I'm not going to suggest. I'm not going to recommend any pharma stocks, even for trading or even for short to medium term purpose.
Okay, got that. Now, viewers, all the sectors have slipped into the red, given up the initial bout of gains as well. India VIX is the only index that's hovering at 11.04, now another 2.4% higher in trade. Abhishek ji, coming back to you, all that momentum and the markets have also slipped below 24,800, 100 points lower in trade. Abhishek ji, coming back to you and trying to understand what's really happening in the overall markets. One, we do know that there is this constant uncertainty on tariffs. Just when we were hoping that talks are again progressing, our own commerce minister went to the US to probably plug some of the gaps that prevented the sixth round of tariffs and probably further to that move as well. Despite that, we haven't seen any kind of a positive flow coming in. This is in fact another negative news that's come in from the US. Second of all, despite all the good news that we are seeing on ground in back home in the domestic market by way of festive spirit in the air, GST rationalization, huge sales and huge demands in the consumer-oriented sectors. Despite that, the markets have actually somehow lost the momentum. What do you think is the key worry point for the markets at this point, Abhishek ji?
That two reasons, I think. One, so first of all, the tariff talks with US, uh, I have, I have to just say that it's meaningless. The reason I'm saying that is EU has a tariff, agreement with US, right? Now, if you see the biggest impact of this pharma, tariff is going to go to the EU, who are the biggest exporters of patented drugs to the US. It is Ireland, it is Switzerland, it is Italy, it is Germany, right? So, it doesn't mean that once you have a tariff deal with the US that things are going to remain the way it is, right? There could be more tariffs, different tariffs, and things like that. So we'll just have to get used to this kind of uncertainty from the US president, at least for the next few years that he's there. And I think slowly the business world is also going to sort of start discounting the fact that these kinds of things will keep happening. Now, what is the impact of this directly? It is that valuations will start contracting because you, as an investor, you have significant uncertainty about what is going to happen in the future. So the terminal value of the businesses that you are owning is uncertain. So valuations will start contracting. Now, the other reason why I think the Indian markets have become a lot lackluster is the huge amount of IPOs, that has hit the street. Every day we have 3-4 IPOs closing, and the net money in the market is static. So ultimately, people would be churning. There are a lot of people who play the IPOs, right? So there are people who are booking profits in one, putting it in the other, and or maybe taking out money from their existing holdings, putting money into the IPO. So that is, to my mind, another reason why the secondary market has sort of been in lackluster, because last 2-3 days post this GST rationalization has kicked in. The feedback from the ground has actually been very, very good. I've been speaking to some distributors, auto distributors, some retail folks, and the inquiries, the sales have been really, really good. So that is going to get reflected, some part of it in this quarter's results, and probably the bigger chunk will come in the next quarter results. So uh, I think we have to be hopeful that this is a passing market phase of uncertainty. It's dragging on. We've actually spent more than a year in this kind of an environment, but I think we're probably closer to the end of this phase than we were before.
More optimistic now that we're probably towards the end of all this uncertainty, and that's what we should be looking at. So, Abhishek ji, how are you guiding your clients at this point in time? Many of the clients or investors are at this point in time feeling disheartened that the markets have actually given virtually no returns or very low returns in this year so far, just about 4%. How are you advising them at this point in time to continue to, invest in regularly into the markets? Which are the pockets to really identify where probably the first leg of outperformance can begin, and therefore you get to cover up a lot of your lackluster move in your portfolios as well? How would you explain that?
So there are two parts to it. Either we can think that 2 years or 3 years back we got a good rally. Then the last year has been sort of consolidation of that, which is in a way I think it's a good sign that markets are not tearing away and completely going berserk. It's taking time to digest the gains. It has taken off a bit of the gains, and that is the nature of the markets, and there is no way around this. The markets is not a linear return providing system. There are going to be ups and downs. It's a roller coaster ride. So now we are getting jerked around, and we are probably at a point which is not a place where people are liking it, but you have to endure this part if you are looking to remain invested and get better than average returns over the longer period of time. It's just the
Absolutely.
nature of the market, the way it functions.
So, have you identified any pockets where
I think it's very
yeah.
very clear that you have to be invested in India. I think world over what we are seeing, and again this is being led by the US president, or if not led, I think sort of reinforced by the US president, is that every country now needs to sort of fend for itself. And that is where I think the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept comes. And we have to be invested in companies which are more domestic focused, right? So, you look at infrastructure, you look at cement, you look at capital goods, manufacturing, domestic travel, anything that is related to Indian consumption, uh, I think ought to do well.
Okay. Any key stocks before we let you go, sir, that you may have identified or added in this recent, space after the GST rollout has happened or when the announcement was made? Have you made any changes to clients' portfolios there?
We've just making incremental changes, nothing major. I think our portfolios have been positioned more for the India theme
Okay.
from the beginning, at least for the last couple of years.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Abhishek ji, for being with us on the program and highlighting all those insights for our viewers. It's almost 9:30. Kunal ji, we'll come back to you. 24,792, 98 point of a dip. Again, we are hovering around and struggling to stay above 24,800. What does this mean for the markets? We are also looking at the beginning of this new series. September series has largely also seen liquidity outflow from FIIs. It has also seen from the retail investors liquidity shift from secondary markets to the primary markets as well. What do you think is going to happen in this new series?
Well, if we talk about this new series, I think FI is already in short size, and since last 2 days, FI is in continuous selling side, and we may see further selling pressure from the FII itself, and the way overall sentiment is going on for a downside would be there based on this tariff war and all. No doubt, Modi government has already started this GST festival, but I'm not going to see any positive sentiment based on this. It may take a further time. I think afterwards this November we may see some kind of positive momentum, but till then selling pressure would be there, and every opportunities on the right side would be a sell on rise opportunities that if anyone can capitalize. So overall momentum, overall sentiment based on this tariff, based on this GST and ongoing FII selling pressure, I think it will be there, and for the downside will be up to the level of 24,500, 24,300 would be there. So uh, every rise in the market would become a good selling opportunities. So trader has to capitalize these to stay in the game.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has also helped you out, viewers. Let's try to find out if there are any momentum based stocks that one could track right now. Very few gainers in this market on the Nifty also and otherwise as well, because all the sectors have now declined. There's a 0.2% to even 2.5% follow on the markets among sectors. Pharma, of course, is down by 2.5%. The top laggard, India VIX is higher by 2.5%. So you can see fear creeping back into the markets as well. L&T is moving up. JSW Steel, Eicher, Tata Motors is hovering higher, Maruti is up. So some gains in the auto pack. ITC, SBI Life, Trent, these are the only gainers on the Nifty that we spot at this point. On the other hand, when we look at the Nifty gainers, again, there are lower gainers than losers in the broadest index as well today. And very few names that we can actually truly mark for all our viewers in the Nifty 500 basket behind, after, if we leave our own rights, for instance, there are very, very few names that we could mark out. Any suggestion on finding out or spotting momentum based stocks, or do you think it's rather to stay with the trend which is on the lower end, Kunal?
Well, definitely a few stocks are there which looks very attractive amongst from the Nifty 15. I think one should focus on the Tata Motors. Since last many days, we have been witnessing some selling prices at Tata Motors. But if we talk about today's trading session, Tata Motors is trading with good level 669 with up by 0.75%. Now, negative news was there related to the JLR. But now selling pressure has been neutralized, and I think we may see some kind of bounce back based on the current momentum. One can get into the stock at present level. We will keep SL at yesterday's day's low, which is placed at the 655 level. Right now, stock is trading at 669, so one can keep SL at the 655. If we talk about target wise, first target comes at 682, and if stock break this level, then further upside would be there up to the level of 705. So I think among these other counters of Nifty 50, Tata Motors looks very attractive on a daily chart.
Okay, got that. 669 for Tata Motors. That seems to be a breath of fresh relief for all the investors of Tata Motors there at this point in time. Let me also talk to you about the PSU stocks, especially defense and railways, Kunal. How are you looking at those? There has been some momentum on both these sectors of late. Order flow news coverage that's coming in is really lifting the spirits yet again. But do you see this rally sustaining, or do you think this is only limited to a few stocks and therefore one must not give too much importance there?
Well, about defense counters, nowhere we have been seeing some selling pressure in the defense counters since morning. If you talk about BEL, Bharat, Solar Industries, MTR, Tech, all the stock trading on negative notes only. But yeah, HL is there, which is trading at which is trading on a positive note at 4,786. Now, if you talk about the daily chart, the way stock has been trading on this daily chart, I think we may see some kind of bounce back on this counter because yesterday's session stock has taken the support of its 100 days moving average. So based on this technical structure, we may see some kind of bounce back up to the level of 4,900, and if stock break this level, then further upside would be there up to the level of 5,100. So HL looks very attractive on a technical front. One can keep SL at 4,720. And as we said, 4,900 to the first target, and afterwards even we may see good upside momentum to the level of 5,070. So amongst other defense counter, I think HL looks very attractive, and we may see some good bounce back the counter during upcoming trading session.
Okay, got that. Let's take another one then. We have this space that I wanted to discuss, and that's the metal space that has been garnering some momentum over the last couple of sessions, Kunal. Are you looking at some fresh wave of move here as well? Are you looking at stocks like, say, GSW Steel, or maybe private players like Tata Steel, or even PSU names there? What's happening on the metal move?
Well, if we talk about metal, no doubt few stocks like KPL, Apollo, JSW Steel, Jina Steel, JSL, the stocks are trading on a positive note. But apart from these stocks, I think most of the stocks are trading on an average, trading on a negative note on an average of -1%. But if we have to pick any one, trading at 1160 level, and daily chart looks very attractive for these stocks. Stock has already given a breakout of its previous top, which was placed at 1100 level. Right now, stock is trading in an uncharted territory. Stock has been trading in its upper rising channel formation as well, and it is trading above all its long-term moving averages. So it clearly indicates for the upside momentum in the counter that we may see during upcoming trading session. Right now, stock is trading at 1158. One can get into the stock at present level, and if you talk about SL wise, one can keep SL at 1140. And if you talk about target wise, the way stock is trading on its daily chart, I think first target would be at 1175, 1.75. And if stock break this level, then further rally would be there up to the level of 1210, 1210. So JSW still looks very attractive. And if you talk about overall market sentiments down, this is the outperforming the it's a bank peer benchmark, and Nifty 50 as well. So I think this we may see a very good upside momentum with this particular counter JSW Steel.
Okay, fair point. Let's also focus on the auto stocks largely because you did talk about a little on Tata Motors, but even companies that are manufacturing heavy vehicles have actually been imposed by some amount of tariff talk there. Any suggestion on what should one do with those that export heavy vehicles, in the industry at this point in time? Do you think that will somehow take the sheen off the auto space, which has been so far reacting to the good news of GST cuts that's leading to domestic demand? Will there be any, impact on the auto sectoral move that we saw?
Well, if you talk about vehicles and commercial vehicles, three major players are there. It's Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland, and M&M. And if you talk about Ashok Leyland trading at 141, M&M trading at 3,500 level. I'm not seeing any particular momentum in this counter because Ashok Leyland has been trading in a range bound momentum only since last many days. So we won't see any we won't see any clear direction until unless it gets it gives a breakout of its range bound momentum. So one has to wait till it gives a clear breakout from its range bound momentum. Now we talk about M&M. It is trading at the 3,500 level, and recently it has made its all-time high, and from there we have been witnessing some profit booking in this counter. No doubt GST rate cut it's there, and it will have positive impact on these counters, but this may take more time. I think after this November we will see a good impact, positive impact of this GST on these counters. But as of now, some kind of selling pressure would be there. Right now, stock is trading at 3,499. Some downside would be there up to the level of 3,400, 3,430, and if it breaks, then 3,400 would be there. So, also Leyland trading on a sideways momentum. No trade for this counter. Yeah, M&M looks attractive. If stock approaches this 3,400, then it would become a good buying opportunities for upcoming trading session.
Okay, got that. We'll also focus on some insurance majors that are showing us some ticks on the higher side. Kunal, are you looking at HDFC, SBI Life also? Is there an opportunity to be seen in that space, the insurance basket as a whole?
Well, yes, definitely. Even this GST rate cut will have a positive impact on the life insurance counters, health insurance counters. And if you talk about HDFC Life, SBI Life, right now HDFC Life is trading at 770. taking a support of its 100 days moving average, and we may see some kind of bounce back in this counter from the present level. One can get into the stock at present level. And if you talk about SL wise, one can keep SL at 760 level. And if you talk about target wise, first target comes at 777. And if stock break this level, the further upside would be there up to the level 800. So yes, HDFC Life looks very attractive from the present level. And if you talk about SBI Life, the way stock has been trading on its daily chart, I think one should avoid this stock because since last 3 days, stock has been trading in a range bound momentum only, and I am not seeing any positive impact on this counter and positive momentum on this counter as of now. So yes, for HDFC Life, it's a thumbs up, but for SBI Life, please avoid this stock as of now.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has also helped you out understand the key space there and if there are any opportunities on that space. Another space that moved up, by the way, viewers, autos have turned green, and something that Kunal was marking, Tata Motors has moved to the top spot, 1.7% higher, is the top mover right now, followed by Eicher Motors, names like Maruti Hero. They are also among the gainers as well, and auto index as a whole has come back into the green, and that's a positive sign. Most of these stocks are now trading at the day's high and have pulled up from the day's low point as well. Apart from this, let me also bring your attention to the Adani Group stocks, Kunal. These stocks have actually been into momentum over the last couple of sessions. Of course, there was big relief from SEBI, the market regulator, that has given a clean chit to Adani Group stocks from the Hindenburg impact that they saw, the allegations that were put by Hindenburg. How would you look at that?
Well, if you talk about Adani counters, no doubt good rally was there in all these counters. If you talk about Adani Enterprise, Adani Port, Adani Power, and other Adani counters as well. But I think one should avoid these counters as of now because we have seen a very good rally in these counters, and for timing we are witnessing some kind of of these counters. And the way all these counters have been trading on a daily chart, I'm not getting that much of confidence for these counters to get into these counters for creating any long position. But yes, if you have your position in these counters and hold these counters, mouse back would be there. But I'm not suggesting to go for any fresh position because in risk reward is not in favor for creating any long position. So for holding purpose, it's thumbs up, but for creating any long position, I'm suggesting to stay away these counters as of now.
Okay, got that. Let me also draw viewers' attention to what's happening on the other spaces in the markets as well. Remember, Adani stocks, as we are discussing, both Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports have moved up into the green right now. Let me just see on Nifty 500 and Nifty Next 50 names if there are others that have also pulled up into trade from within the group as well. We have Adani Energy Solutions apart from that. That's into the green at this point in time. But how are you looking at the real estate space, Kunal? Wanted to ask you that. You know, the space has been facing some sharp sell-off over the last couple of sessions. I wanted to understand this space has also been lagging after 3-4 years consecutively of move on the higher side. It has seen a lot of profit taking. So, do you think the worst of this consolidation and negative move is now behind? Is this again going to come back into focus, or is there going to be some pressure to be felt even from here?
Well, if you talk about Raymond side, if you talk about the reality side, this it's a cyclical momentum that we are witnessing in this reality counters because no doubt we have been we had seen a very good upside momentum in all these counters, but from the top of these counters, I think healthy correction that we are witnessing since last many months. So it's a cyclical momentum that we are witnessing in these counters. One should wait and watch for further confirmation from the technical front. No doubt fundamental looks very attractive, but technical looks very weak as of now. If you recover Raymond, Loda, Oberoi Realty, DLF, Godrej Property, and all these stocks have been trading below its 100 days moving average and in a downtrend for short to medium term purpose, short to medium term time frame. So I'm not suggesting to go for creating any long position for medium to long term purpose until at least we get a clear direction from the perspective of the 100 days moving average. So as of now, no recommendation to create any long position for short term to medium term. But yes, if you have position in this counter, then hold these counters. We may see some kind of good upside momentum, but for creating any fresh position, I think one should wait and watch.
Okay, we'll have to shift our focus back to the pharma space, viewers. I'm now joined by my colleague Karishma Sudani has more updates on this new 100% tariff that has been imposed on the pharma space. Remember, Donald Trump has taken this tariff tantrum to another level by imposing 100% tariffs on branded and patented pharma. You are already seeing this reaction, Karishma, that across the board all the pharma stocks are down in trade, anywhere between 2 to 4% of a cut is being seen. There is no pharma stock which is in the green. That shows the knee-jerk reaction that has already been reflected in the stock markets per se. Our experts have so far been pointing out that since this is only limited, at least for the first move, into the branded and the patented space, it might not affect a large part of pharma companies because they largely export generics. Tell me, what exactly are you bringing into the table now?
Sakshi, I've been talking to officials from Ministry of Commerce, and they have a similar view. In fact, they've told me that right now they're awaiting to study the full document that will be released, which will clarify on the fact about the mentioned patent and branded part. Because, as you said, and also what numbers are talking about, most of our exports to the US, about close to $10 billion, are with the generic medicines, and on a very steep and a lower level is that of a branded medicines. Now, what we are picking up also from our sources is that irrespective of what announcements have been coming in by the United States of America when it comes to the tariff implications, government is in a stronger strategy process to diversify exports away from the US, also towards Europe, Africa, and Latin America. And Commerce Ministry has been vocal about this. The government has been talking about spotting 50 major destinations where they can send around our products and where we do not lie solely dependent on the US. Of course, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, we hold a major export share of close to 40 to 45% when it comes to our generic drugs. And I'm sure the reason that we await clarification is because in case there are any kind of implications on the fact that generic is to be included or will be included, it's going to be a major impact also to consumers in the US, the one who have been dependent on buying generic drugs being imported from India.
Absolutely, Karishma. So keep an eye out on that. We'll wait for the government statements to come in onto that statement as on this fresh move on pharma tariffs as well. Remember, viewers, before this, we were only looking at textiles, fertilizers and chemicals, some gems and jewelry as sectors that were impacted by the tariffs that have been imposed. Remember, we have a 50% tariff, 25% punitive tariff that we have been seeing on these export-oriented sectors. These sectors have already spelled out to the government that sustaining their exports at these tariffs will be nearly impossible. They have been seeking some help or aid from the government by way of any financial assistance or protection from this impact so far, and now it's all about the pharma sector as well. Although the government has said on a prima facie reaction is that there is only a $1 billion worth of export that is likely to see the impact of this 100% tariff on pharma, but a large part of our exports is in the generics market. But remember, this is the first announcement on pharma that has come in. We cannot rule out that there will not be any impact on the generic space. However, as Karishma and both our experts also had pointed out earlier, that generics market and any kind of a huge amount of tariff on that market will also negatively impact US and US consumers of the generics drugs at large as well. So we'll keep that in our focus. Remember, throughout the course of the day today, pharma space is something that will remain on top of our radar, and we'll of course try to get some voices from the pharma industry and analysts as well to get you a better understanding of as to how to read this impact as well. Coming back to Kunal. Kunal, so that's the update. The government also believes at this point in time that one must not read too much as an impact that could happen because this is limited to a $1 billion of export for now, but yet the government will be reading the entire document and will be trying to understand who and to what extent will the impact be seen. There are already some stocks that are pulling up from the day's low and now coming back into the green. You can see Dr. Reddy's, which is at the day's high now, about 0.04% higher at 1275. So with this kind of a move, you're also seeing some improvement in the sentiment. Kunal, what would you do with this pickup that's happening? Do you think finally the knee-jerk reaction is getting digested and now it's all about companies to come out and say what kind of an impact will they actually see because of this 100% tariffs?
Well, obviously, the is going on in this 100. I think government will take the aggressive front on this, and some positive momentum would be there. I think based on this news and based on this ongoing sentiment, I think one should focus on the Torrent Pharma. No doubt we have been witnessing some good upside momentum into Dr. Reddy, but I think one should also focus on the Torrent Pharma. Why I am talking about this counter? Because technical front, on a technical front, it looks very attractive. It has a strong support at 3480 level, and even before it was taking the support of the 7, afterward it went up to the level of 3700. So anybody if want to get into the pharma sectors for trading perspective, I think Torrent Pharma looks very attractive with strict stop loss of 3480. And if you talk about target wise, the first target comes at 3600, and afterwards even it will be marched toward the level of 3700. Now this is based on the technical perspective, but the way this tariff is going on, I think we may soon see some positive reaction from the government side for this pharma sectors, and it will have positive impacts that might hit the market pharma sectors during upcoming trading session. So one has to keep an eye on these counters, and no doubt we have been witnessing a selling pressure on this Sun Pharma, Lupin, Supply, and all the counters. So I think some good bounce back would be there.
Okay, fair point. All right. We'll thank you then, Kunal, for being with us on the program. 24,813 right now on the Nifty, 77 points of a decline. So we are reducing the losses that we saw and we are back above the 24,800 odd mark. We'll see how it pans out. Remember, both autos and real estate sectors are into the green right now. There's also some pickup that's taking place as far as the pharma stocks are also concerned after that sharp knee-jerk reaction right at the open, just as how first half an hour, 35 minutes are now settled in trade. We'll continue to look at how these particular stocks continue throughout the course of the day. Meanwhile, if you have some questions about the stocks in your portfolio, if your portfolio is heavy on pharma, then ask away your questions at 12 noon on Daily Calls. I'll be back for that.
The Indian Air Force gets ready